Kia ora. My journey began in Ukraine, and I can say that I'm a very happy person. You know the choice that teenagers have to make when deciding on their future professions? Well, it was never a question for me. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. So after graduating from school, I entered the university, and in 5 years, I became a teacher. I was teaching for over 17 years, and as in my country, schools are not divided into primary and secondary levels, I had the opportunity to teach students from year 1 to year 11 within the same school community. I loved my role and I built strong relationships with my students and their families. It's a very common thing in Ukraine that school is your second home and the teacher is your second mother. So I was a mother for hundreds of children. Relationships are very important. In 2019, I moved to Aotearoa and I began a new chapter of my life, the one that continues to shape me both personally and professionally. After getting my work visa, again, I didn't have any doubts about my job. I wanted to work with children. I became a learning assistant. First, I worked in a special needs school and later I moved to Ormiston Junior College. Last year, I decided that I was ready to become a teacher. So now I work with Akonga from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds. I am a literacy coach in the ELL groups. I believe in the power of patience, active listening, and empathy. As an immigrant myself, I know what it's like to adapt to a new country, new language, new culture, new educational system, and I bring that empathy to my classroom. This allows me to connect with my learners on a deeply human level. I am also a mother, so I always ask myself, what if it was my son? Am I kind enough? Am I supportive enough? I position my students as knowledge holders. Every learner in my classroom arrives with experiences, strengths, and stories that matter, and my role is to honor, include, and build upon those. I also believe it's important to recognize and support every student's unique strengths. I try to find that special spark, a talent, a passion, a potential, so they can build confidence and grow into the best version of themselves. Culturally responsive practice begins with taking some time to truly know our learners, their backgrounds, values, and lived experiences. Building this understanding is the foundation for meaningful teaching. Honoring Te Tiriti o Waitani is also essential. This means embedding Te Reo Maori, Tikana, and Matauranga Maori into the classroom and do it in authentic and respectful ways. It doesn't mean I will teach Te Reo in my ELL classroom, but we can greet each other with Kia ora or Ata Maria, or when I say Kai Pai, they know I praise their work. It also means ensuring that all the materials we use, texts, visuals, and examples are appealing and connected with life. Representation matters. We have to make our teaching interesting. I was teaching about the story of Ranginui and Papatuanuku, and I used a very nice video. My junior students were asking me if it was a true story, and my senior students said that it was a very beautiful legend. Relational pedagogy is equally important. Concepts like whananotana or manakitana reminds us to build genuine and caring relationships where students feel seen, valued, and supported. It's also about sharing power, offering students voice and agency, and not just in classroom tasks, but in shaping their learning journey. Creating culturally safe spaces where identity is acknowledged and celebrated is vital for student well-being and success. Finally, reflective practice is key. As teachers, we must continually examine our own assumptions and be willing to adapt and grow. By doing this, we can identify the areas of strengths and opportunities for improvement. In one of the classrooms, the teacher invited students to bring a photo that represented their Turanga Waiwai. Learners shared their pictures, some spoke about their home countries, others described grandparents' houses or their old schools. In the end, they created a display wall and celebrated their identities. This practice stood out because it gave all students a voice and promoted Whanangatanga. The second example will be one of the classes visited Maraya. Students from the Philippines, China, Vietnam, India were warmly welcomed. They played rakao stick games, shared kai, listened to Kaumatua stories, learned about Tikana Maori. For all of them, it was their first time in the Maraya, and the experience was great. What stood out here was that the Maraya created a learning environment that was very experiential, relational, and deeply respectful. This experience also highlighted the importance of learning outside of the classroom. And the third example will be the way our school celebrated Matariki. Students and their whanau arrived early in the morning. They greeted the Matariki. We remembered our ancestors. We sang Wayata, we made wishes for the year ahead, we shared kai. What stood out for me here was the strong sense of community, and it felt like a reunion where everyone belonged. And it was a meaningful way to honor Te Ao Maori and a reminder that you don't have to be a Maori to participate and feel included in this rich cultural tradition. To be honest, I feel fortunate to teach in a kura where diversity is not just acknowledged but celebrated, and where equity and belonging are foundational values, not aspirations. I would say it is Hikaira schema for secondary. It appeals to me because of its holistic and practical approach and creating inclusive classroom environments that genuinely affirm students' cultural identities. As an ESOL teacher working with diverse learners, I see this framework as deeply aligned with my values and practice. The Hikaira rationale is appropriate for working with both Maori and non Maori students and teachers, even though its guiding values and metaphors come from within a Maori worldview. A key challenge in implementing the Hikaira schema is that some educators may feel uncertain or underprepared to engage meaningfully with Maori and Pacifica worldviews. To address this, school must provide ongoing professional learning and collaborative spaces where teachers can reflect, share, and grow together. Another challenge is the time and relational investment, which is required to build deep connections with students and whanau. However, this can be seen as a strength rather than the barrier. Relational pedagogy grounded in Whanaungatanga and Manakitanga is foundational for students' success and well-being. Thank you.